How did countries respond to the threat that Hitler posed to the international world order? Or how did people respond to violence on the streets by the SS, either in Germany or other cities in Europe during the Holocaust? Professor Poutine here. Time for Mysteries Histories. To the whiteboard! When we look at how people responded to this level of violence, historians generally break people down into 5 categories. We have perpetrators, bystanders, upstanders, resistors, and rescuers. And I think a lot of people today would like to think that if I was in someone's shoes at that point in time, or if I was on the streets of Minnesota today, I'd be a resistor. I'd stand up. But in actual fact, when we look at the nations of Europe, barely a few thousand people resisted the Nazis, because that had the real risk of going to jail or possibly dying. One bright exception to this is the nation of Denmark. When the Nazis tell the Danish that they have to hand over all 7,000 of their Jews in 1943, the Danes instead hide their Jews and try and smuggle them all over to Sweden. The Nazis only get their hands on about 580 of the Jews, and with the exception of a few that die in Theresienstadt, virtually every single Danish Jew survives the Holocaust, a remarkable feat of resistance. More important for us to look at, more illustrative, is the bottom of this chart. Perpetrators, bystanders, and upstanders. When we look at the violence on the streets right now, ICE, it seems overwhelming. There's so many ICE agents. And we think the same thing. There must have been so many people actively participating in the Holocaust. But according to historians, and these are rough numbers, barely 3% of the German population were active participants in the Holocaust. What's more shocking is that 90% of Germans were bystanders. They didn't do anything. They didn't act violently, but they didn't act at all. And when you don't act, you embolden the government. There are a few moments of actual resistance that scared the Nazis. If more people were willing to do something, maybe the Holocaust wouldn't have been quite so bad. What we need today are more upstanders. Do something small. Write a letter, do a social media post, donate to a food bank, bring hot chocolate to people who are protesting if protesting is not your thing. You need to show the government that you're not afraid, that you're not willing to tolerate what's going on. You cannot be a bystander. As the saying went from the 1940s, if you have 10 people sitting at a table, one of them is an ardent Nazi, and 9 are just sitting there eating their food saying nothing. Ultimately, that means there's 10 Nazis at the table. Don't be a bystander. Be an upstander. Consider yourself updated.